thought I'll acknowledge some few amazing projects that members of this club has been able to achieve since the beginning of this year. You know, sometimes us as human beings, we don't know how to blow our own trumpet. And one of the things I say a lot, being a member of this club, is that the rule number one to business success, wealth creation, and literally going out there and stepping out to being a true entrepreneur. If there's one skill number one skill you have to master is marketing. And marketing means that you're able to self-promote, blow your own trumpet, talk about what you've achieved, because you never might just know who is in the room. And when it comes to property, and I'm going to tell you from a point of someone who has done over 30 property projects in the United Kingdom since 2019, delivered over 30 projects. One thing, if you do not know how to market yourself, all right, is that you're always going to find yourself where you don't have investors working with you. You would have money problems. So if you cannot market, you're going to have money problems. In property, you don't need money to start. The number one thing you need to learn to do is marketing. Because if you can market yourself really, really well, the money that you're looking for is in the hands of every single person in this room. So in mentioning your success, whether you're working on a project, whether your offer just gotten accepted, in rooms like this, when you get given that mic to say, who are you? It's important for you to say who you are, what you're working on very quickly, steal the show, right? Steal the show very quickly and share your success. Because what that does to you as a person, instantly, it draws somebody to wanting to ask you a question. And if you build that relationship well, you may never ever need to pay someone 3%, 5% to raising capital. Okay? You may never ever need to pay someone 3% or 5% to helping you raising capital. Because you know how to blow your own trumpet. And I say this a lot. Just watch what I do on social media. Watch what I do when I speak. One of the things that's helped me a lot is that I learned from people too. Once upon a time, I used to be the guy in the back of the room. I lacked confidence. I was the guy behind the room. I had a terrible Nigerian accent. And I used to tell myself I wasn't qualified enough. So because of that, every time I spoke, I was in the back. Or every time people was going to say, introduce yourself, I actually walk out the room. When they finish introducing themselves, and I come back so I don't have to introduce myself. But when I switched that, I went to be able to put people like you in the room. So I put people like you in the room, not because I'm the best, or not because I'm the most best in talking, but it's because I became very intentional about it. So you have to learn to sell yourself. When people panic in property, I laugh. You know why? Because you don't have the two most important skills. Marketing, promote yourself. Restructure is the word. There is never thing as a bad loan or a good loan in property. Learn to restructure.
I should have mentioned that I'm looking to do my next project. So if anyone in this room has got some savings, they are happy to have a return on, please reach out. I'm happy to pay you interest on it. And one other thing, I know I was a finalist for New Investor of the Year for Blue Bricks, and I received an email recently, and the person that sent the email had actually added on their emails finalists. That person was also a finalist. So I'm like, okay, I was also a finalist. Where am I not advertising that? And now I've got
your first
new investor.
You've got your first news interview. She's been interviewed in the news.
Yeah. Who is familiar with YMP? Your Property
Network magazine.
Yeah. So I'll be featured there in January. I'm looking forward to it. Yes. So it's all a learning it's hard for me to, sometimes, just as you're saying, I feel like I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, but I'm trying my best to start accepting it and putting myself out there. So yeah, thank you very much.
Great. I think every single one of us should have this mantra. First, we all know that we are all ordinary people. All right. So we should have this mantra in our mindset that we are on a journey to transform into becoming extraordinary. And the reason why I say that, because one property is not going to change anything. To be honest, at least a minimum of 5 properties earning you a good £1,000 a month is the average every single member of this club should aim for. How can I own a minimum of 5 properties that gives me at least £1,000 a month? That is £5,000 when I complete 5 properties. I don't have to worry about monthly cash flow. All right. So by being able to tell yourself that, listen, you're here to, my priority is I want to be a member of this club. I am an existing member of this club, and my priority is how can I own a minimum of 5 properties that gives me a recurring income per month within a period of 3 to 5 years, so that I can have at least £5,000 passive income month in, month out. Now, as a property entrepreneur looking to transition from the ordinary to extraordinary, realistically, to build a portfolio of 5 assets that pays you £5,000 a month, you're not going to be able to do it with your own money. So if you don't know how to market, if you don't know how to blow your own trumpet, tell me, where are you going to get the money from? It's important for us to know that real wealth is actually created using other people's money. Real wealth is created using other people's money. Because whether we like it or not, there are people in this room sitting down on a minimum of £20,000, but they're excited looking at the account balance when they should have been making that money work harder. Meanwhile, the bank is trading your money. The bank is what? Trading your money day in, day out. But you're looking at it and you think it's your money, but the money is gone somewhere and it's making so much money for the bank. So when we come together in rooms like this and we share these amazing stories, it gives you the opportunity to either want to collaborate with someone, or it gives you the opportunity to want to invest with someone passively or joint venture with someone. So, guys, so without taking too much time, I want to take this opportunity to just welcome my 2 very old friends. These 2 guys, all right, they are one of the most outstanding estate agents that I know, and we've done good business. And without further ado, can you guys welcome these 2 amazing estate agent friends of mine, Daniel and Michael? Great. All right, guys. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to invite our speaker. Okay. Uh, our speaker is someone that we met a while back, and we started discussing, and she basically opened my eyes to commercial real estate. So, without further ado, can everyone join me in welcoming our speaker, and we're going to be having a conversation. Soma.
Hi everyone, I'm glad to see you all, and thank you for Dr. Daniel bringing me here. My name is Soma Hadad. I'm a founder and director of Soma Architect, and I'm planning consultant as well. So I've been doing it for quite a while. My most successful commercial conversion is in Widmer Road. It's 1970 Chill Cafe. Just go down there and have a look. So I've been working with Dr. Daniel not too long, but I'm pleased to have you all. Currently, I'm working on 2 projects, 35 Market Street, which is, they belong to these 2 couples, beautiful couple. And the other one is 15A line. So they both in outside London, in Manchester. So today we're gonna cover how to convert commercial to residential. It's quite a good project and you can earn a lot of income through that rather than converting the residential to commercial, to HMO. The reason is there are a couple of reasons. One, because of the COVID, the office building and retail been all down. So there are so many properties out of the street is unoccupied, so it's vacant. So the second reason, most of the council, local authority, they are desperate to have more residential spaces. So for that reason, they are pursuing easily to convert or to create more residential. And some of the local authority, they don't have enough money to build more residential. For that reason, they are really helping the investors, the architect, the other people where they are in the property ladders to create more residential space. There are another aspect that we need to have more HMOs. There are so many couples or single people, they can't afford the whole house or the whole flat. So they prefer to rent the shared property. And another aspect for that, when you as a investor or landlord, you earn more. If you buy a 3-bedroom house and rent it out in London, let's say, you just earn £1,500. But if you convert it to HMO, I'm not saying do it residential, I'm just giving you a case study, yeah. You may earn £1,000 minimum in each rooms. So you earn more, like a double. And for residential, it's the planning application is a bit different from the commercial. The commercial planning application, it's quite straightforward, and they are happy to do that. It's a bit challenge to, it's easy to convert the residential because it's already residential to HMO, but in the same time there is so many criteria, so many restrictions to do that. But when you convert the commercial to the residential, you need to apply for planning application. And through that, you need to have the design and the size and everything complying with the HMO regulation. The good thing about that, let me talk about how is the planning application. What's the planning application? Planning application is a formal requirement from local authority to any development, construction, change of use. So they are requested by local authority. And there are quite a few steps as the architect we need to take care on behalf of the client to get the planning application before you start any construction or any job in that property. Otherwise, you can end up with a like fine or any kind of legal action. So the first step of the planning application we call pre-application advice. Before you do that, if you want to buy a property, like for instance, you want to buy a commercial property and you want to convert it to HMO, my advice, have a look to that local area and search the area. Is a not listed building, don't go for any kind of listed building or conservation area, because you still can apply for planning application and convert it. Like if someone buy a church and convert it to HMO or school to HMO, you still be able, but it's very challenging and will take probably 2-3 years of your time to. So there are quite so many retail and office being closed down. And have a look if it's that not two type of building, not listed and not conservatory area. And then have a look to the area if it's part of Article 4 direction. If it's a Article 4 direction, it means you need to apply for planning application. But anyway, if you buy a commercial, usually they are big floor area, so you need to make more money. So you are converting to more rooms. So if you convert it to more than 4 people, they are not related to each other, more than 4 people not related to each other live in that property, you need to planning application. So let's go back to how is the planning application. First of all, we are preparing documents, and most of the time I personally prepare the floor plan, everything. Sometimes some architect, they don't do that, just send like a note. But I usually like to prepare everything and then to send it to pre-application advice and book a meeting, or sometime through the email they will get back to me and they say, okay, this property you can convert it to HMO and you need to apply for planning application. And after that, we submit formal documentation. We prepare the document and we submit it. And you are, as an investor, you pay for that. And then after that, the consultation period will start, which is the local authority will consult all different departments, like your neighboring, if you have neighbors, your different stakeholder, flood department, like fire department. They will consult every different stakeholders and other pupils, which is they have right to make a decision on that change. We call, and then after that, if it's everything's been going by guide and regulation, the property will, the change of use or the conversion will be approved. And then after that, the decision will be published. So we will receive the decisions that you have the right, you can convert your property and you can start working on that. And after that, you will start working on your project.
Can I just quickly interject? Something very important you said, because I want to kind of deconstruct the information a little bit. Now, first of all, in terms of the planning application process for a commercial property, I think it's important for the people in the room to know why commercial property, because we already know when you're dealing with residential property, there are more issues with residential. When you're dealing with commercial to residential conversion, there is usually lesser issues, apart from things like conservation, listed buildings, and the rest of them. But most times, this is why it's important to get the due diligence to know whether it's a conservation area or is a listed building. So outside of those two major problems, how easy it is to convert a commercial building to a residential? That's the first question.
Yeah, it's quite easy. As I mentioned it before, it's a straightforward, because you change the use of that property from A1, A2 or B1 to C4. So in that point, it's you, and you need to prepare the floor plan as well.
Yeah.
So in that point, it's straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah, and after you like follow some guide and regulation, fire safety and room sizes, and all type of stuff, it's more easier than the residential.
The residential.
Yeah, and also you can make. How can I say? It is the commercial. It's the reason I mention it. It's easy because they want those offices, which is an occupy, have use and have like converted to something can people
People can live in.
advantage of it.
Okay.
That's the main things council looking for it, to
So-
reduce a housing crisis as well.
Yeah.
And based on the planning application, as far as I mentioned it, and you as well, not part of these two type of property, listed and conservatory, any type of commercial property, either you want to half change, like keep the first floor, ground floor as a commercial and convert the top floor,
the upper floor
as a HMO. So it's quite straightforward.
So I know you've been quite focused on HMOs, obviously, because that's what we all do in here. We love HMOs. So when you're converting from a commercial straight into an HMO,
Yeah.
do you still go through a pre-approval route?
Yes.
And before actually, speaking on pre-approval, could you just kind of explain what does it mean? What is a pre-approval?
Yeah.
What is it, and why is it better than your actual full planning application?
Yeah, the pre-application advice is very important. I always go for that because what's happening, you can have a negotiation with your local authority or for a housing officer. So what you do, sometimes you as an architect or as a client have an imagination, you apply for it. And when you don't go through pre-application advice, you may straight away get refused and you pay lots of amount of money. But if you get the pre-application, you get advice from local authority. They say, okay, this part you need to change, this doesn't work, it doesn't comply with the regulation. So you have time, and also you have ability to negotiate with the local authority. And that's really good because you don't lose the case in any ways. And you get advice from local authority, and after that you have final decision from them.
Yeah.
So that's a first step, but it's a clear step that you get decision from them.
In terms of pre-approval, the pre-approval route normally, is that just your pre-application process or advisory alone? Or because sometimes when you submit a pre-approval, they say if the council doesn't get back to you within 56 to 58 days, it automatically means that they're going to approve it and you have your approval, correct? Or do you have to wait for the 58 days to definitely get a response, or after the 58 days you can actually just move to site and get the project started?
Basically, usually they have to get back to you because we pay for it. We pay for it and they have to get back to you. And if they didn't get back to you, you need to keep chasing them. You can't start any job without having any approved from local authority. Because I had a client, they thought this ways work for them, and they start working on the project and they get 25k fine.
I have heard about this. The reason why I'm really asking this question, I have had situation where property developers have actually stated when you go around the pre-approval route and you wait for your 56 to 58 days timeline, and the council did not get back to you, usually because they're obliged to get back to you to say yes or no.
Yeah.
And because you didn't hear yes or no, usually meant that you now have something to stand on to almost get approval or actually begin the work, because the pre-approval route is 56 to 58 days of consent to approval. So in this case, are you saying that councils may differ, or
it's a different, but sometimes some property when you buy, it's not a part of Article 4, it's mean permitted development.
Yes.
So you just need a law certificate. In that point, you can't start it. But my advice, and through my experience, you need to get anything from the local council in any case, because if anything happen in that project and you touch anything from that building, cause any crisis in the future, you may be fine.
You spoke about Article 4 earlier. I'm
Yeah.
sure most of you already know what Article 4 means. If you haven't, that means you have not logged into the portal and get yourself trained. Obviously, Article 4 is permitted development, removal of permitted development right. Now, when Article 4 comes into a local authority, obviously there are several types of buildings. Now, my understanding, having done a lot of projects over the years, is that there are separate Article 4s, okay,
Yeah.
that are implementable whether on residential or commercial. So an Article 4 might be in place in an Article 4 area for residential. So meaning you cannot change that property from a C3 to a C4.
C4,
But
yeah.
it may be different for commercial.
Yeah.
Can you explain on that?
That's council. They put restricted on these type of properties or this type of area. Like for example, 3-5, and we have two properties opposite each other. They are part of the Article 4. That's why we are going for fully planning applications.
Yes.
So it means this area, even if it's a residential, commercial, they are part of Article 4. Why? Maybe they are flood risk, fire risk, or they have a noise issue. So they need to assess this building and they need to see, is that suitable for this type of change of use or conversion or extension? And then they will have a look, and then they make a decision. If it's not, it's straightforward, it's a permitted development. That's another type of, which is not fully planning application.
Okay. Now, for C3 property, that means your standard family home.
Yeah.
Most times, when you're turning a C3 properties into a C4, so
Yeah.
standard family home conversion into an HMO.
Yeah.
In an Article 4 area, it's automatic no.
Yeah.
So, if you're converting a commercial property into a C4 use HMO, larger HMO,
yes,
a commercial, it's different.
Yeah.
So my question is, does that then mean the new market with the current, with this kind of loopholes that a lot of investors are not aware about, would you not say, for example, buying commercial buildings and turning them into Article 4 could be a good loophole to actually generate?
It's really good. Sometimes you can change the C3, which is the residential, to HMO C4. It's a straightforward, it's a sometimes permitted development.
Yeah.
So you need a full planning application. Why? Because they are both, the building, it's already been prepared for the residential, for the type of living. Like you can't can habit it for the living.
Yeah.
But the commercial is completely different. So in that point, you need to apply for change of use. But the point is, because the commercial buildings, they are quite big, and also they have less restriction. Yeah. So it's easier to do that. Or if you want to decide to, some people, they buy a small commercial building, they convert it to residential, C3.
Yep.
From there, they go to C4.
Yep.
And that point is less headache, because you convert the commercial to C3, it's more permitted development. You convert it to commercial to C3, so that's for the whole family.
Yep.
And from C3 to C4 to individual.
Yeah.
Like individual tenants, which they are not related to each other. In that point, it's easier to do that. You may just have a HMO license to rent it out.
So let me take us one more step backward. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to open the room to questions.
Yeah.
So when buying a commercial building, what are the three major things an investor have to firstly be aware of? So when they're buying a commercial building, the first three things they need to look at before actually even putting an offer in, from the angle of the planning or...
Yeah, the first things, as I mentioned, it is not shouldn't be you can be, but it's easier not to be the listed building or these type of building and been unoccupied for quite a while, and also good location. The location also is really helpful. You can pursue the council that area needs lots of residential and they are lacking of housing. So we can put that as a statement. We say this area it doesn't have too many residential area spaces, properties, so they need more, and or they have a student. You can have a look to the area if it's near the university, college, or they can be rented out by the student. That will help. And apart from that, which is our job, we need to have a look the space. If a space can be suitable to convert it, because the room size should be between 6.4 to 16.
Yep.
And also they should have a like WC and bathroom, utility room. And you need to have the space that you can convert it to sitting area and the kitchen.
Yep.
So that's our part. We need to look, because sometimes the investor doesn't know is that space requirement or that space will be suitable, and they will buy it and they are, oh, that's work. But no, we need to look to that as well. We need to look to the lighting, and we need to look to we need to advise the client how to construct the building based on the energy efficiency as well.
I was speaking about airspace earlier.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, can you just quickly touch base? What does that mean in commercial, and why should people look at the opportunity as well as, in the airspace area in commercial buildings?
Yeah, most of the commercial area, some room being not used, or the loft is never been used. But in a residential, usually we're thinking as a storage or another room. So we can convert the loft to another HMO spaces, and also there is a more potential to extend the space, create more space, either loft conversion or extend to the first ground floor to the second floor. So that will create more space for that.
And in terms of commercial valuation, in terms of making money from property, so what's the viability, in converting those commercial spaces? How much value would adding an airspace area into a dwelling in a commercial building? What value does that bring onto that asset?
The value will be double if you convert the commercial to just one dwelling, the whole house. It will be in the market will be less value than the HMO. Like it will be less. But sometimes the value of the property as a commercial is less expensive than like a whole house, like a dwelling.
Yeah.
Because it's been in down there, it's been under very bad condition, so it hasn't been used. Council cannot make a council tax out of it.
Yeah.
So they want to put in a market very quickly and have a value out of the street. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes. Final question.
Yeah.
Can you share any sort of opportunity right now, apart from the fact that we now know that we can easily buy commercial buildings? So, for example, Sarah and Offray, they're currently looking at a few deals. What is the real opportunity now in the commercial space to residential? Apart from the fact that if you buy a mixed-use commercial, there's the likelihood of paying less in stamp duty.
Stamp duty.
What is any other opportunity that you think is worth the individuals in this room knowing?
So sometimes the commercial space is bigger, so there is the opportunity to create more rooms
Without conversion.
without conversion.
Okay.
So just create, like for example, in a commercial you have a big space, you just breaking down the room, so you make more room out of that one space. That's one opportunity. Second opportunity, you have more income. I don't know about how to buy a commercial because I haven't done any.
Yep.
But what I'm talking about,
It's
how
the use of space. Use of space.
how we can design it, how can we minimize it, how can we put so many like residents and have on one property,
On one property.
create more income and more value on. And after you sell your commercial, for example, you buy a commercial property and you apply for planning application, you have the planning application on hand and you sell it without doing anything, you create
An income.
so you will in straight away for
I love
just
that part.
yes, yeah, just out of paying for the architect and converting, applying for planning application to change the use of that commercial to the HMO, and don't spend any money to create it, just sell it. You probably earn a couple of grand.
Great.
So that's another business opportunity.
Did you guys hear that?
I want to add one thing, but if you apply for any planning application, make sure you do the job or you sell it in a 3 years period. Otherwise, your application will be expired. So you have to reapply, resubmit, as these beautiful couple bought commercial properties and they've been converted, like their planning application been applied and it expired. So we need to resubmit. And the council doesn't say, okay, it's been applied,
And it's free.
And let's just tick it and start developing. No, they go through again all the guide and regulation, what's changed in the past 3 years. Because we know in this country, in 1 week, decision may change or any type of things will change after the COVID as well. So that's one tip as well.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah. So my question is acquiring commercial properties, because I'm sure they are more expensive.
Yeah.
So, what is the process like, and what is the deposit like? Because like the people that have purchased commercial properties already, I feel like you guys just did magic, because I don't know how you raise that kind of money to now buy those properties, and then because I'm interested, so I want to just know how is that? How can you do that?
If you buy through limited company, you don't pay for any stamp duty, and also it's cheaper. I don't know. That's how a bit of research I have done so far.
Okay.
So he may give you more advice, but I know it's cheaper than if you just buy it by your own name. So that's why it's good to have a limited company and then do the business. And sometimes commercial cheaper than residential.
Yeah.
So she talked about not getting commercial properties that are listed. So how do you find the ones that are not listed, or how?
Sometimes when you Google the area,
Yeah.
you will find in a local council. Usually we know how to do it, to be honest, but sometimes you will find out when you Google it, and you ask questions that listed building or conservation area. Usually the area you Google it, they tell you that's a conservation area. It will tell you, and most of the like council building, it's been in a part of the conservation area, or they are part of the have a heritage architect elements and this type of stuff. It's been listed building, so usually it's quite clear, or we will find out, because sometimes the building is not clear. Every building is different. So sometimes we found out that it's a listed building. Some property I work on half listed building. There was an age on that building. Half of it is a listed building. We couldn't do anything, but the other half of the building wasn't. So we could change or we could refine that space, especially the exterior. So the internal, we will be able to do things.
Can you just re-explain the finance bit where you were explaining about you can use the valuation? Yes, loan to value. Yeah, to source the finance.
So for commercial acquisition, as I mentioned, if you have got some skin in the game, there are lenders that would be willing to accept to lend to you 75% of the money. So they give you 75% of the money, and you put in 25% of the money in if you have some skin in the game. Now, what do I mean by skin in the game? How many projects have you developed? That's number one. What is your personal net worth? So how many properties do you own? All right. What is the equity on those assets? So what experience do you have doing refurbishments? How long have you been doing refurbishments for? How long have you been a landlord? Okay. All right. Number two, what is your equity statement? So you're trying to get loan to buy in a commercial building. The bank is giving you £600,000. Your personal net worth is only £50,000. They're not going to lend to you. All right. So how do you also overcome that? You can find someone that can come in for the purpose of, getting, the right level of lending up to 75%. You can find a joint venture partner that, number one, they've done a lot of refurbs. All right. And they have a profile. Number two is that they have a net worth. So, for example, they own multiple properties where the equity statement is around about maybe 300,000, 400,000, and you can collaborate their net worth and your net worth together in an SPV. Combined, now you have a net worth of equity state on your statement of like £500,000. The bank would then say, okay, yes, you got some skin in the game. You've been doing property projects. So if the worst happens, you're not going to run away. Because the thing about doing 10 beds, 15 beds, 20 beds HMOs, whether we like it or these are big deals. It's big money. It's big money in, big money out. The reward is what? Big as well. So having skin in the game, meaning that you have to have that net worth, you have to have that experience. Subject to that experience, the bank then can look at you, profile you, and say, okay, we're willing to put more money in the deal, less money for you. All right. If you haven't got skin in the game, use just your first property. Most times, for acquiring commercial buildings, with the new regulation at the moment, most lenders are not interested because you're not attractive to them. They're only attractive to those that have got skin in the game. But if you haven't got skin in the game, you can overcome those challenges by having a joint venture partner. All right, either a joint venture equity partner or a joint venture that you can actually just employ to come on the deal with you, and you can pay them a fee. So those are the ways lenders can obviously lend to you. So in this case, if you're buying a property that is a commercial building for £300,000, 75% loan to value if you have skin in the game. If you haven't got skin in the game, the bank probably will look at no, or they might be willing to lend to you for like 60%. So they'll be willing to give 60%. You would then need to find 40% of £300,000. I hope that makes sense.
Today's event was very useful for me.
The event today has been amazing, simply amazing.
Today I learned about commercial property. Most times we tend to focus on residential property.
I learned more on commercial purchases.
It's been brilliant coming for this event because most of the other members, we tend to speak online or by phone.
I actually find it quite interesting, particularly about the commercial investment. So yeah, big shout out to Dr. Daniel for the invitation today.